Hey guys, and welcome to this course. I'm Robbie G. I'm a self-taught web developer from Melbourne, Australia, and today I'm going to be teaching you the fundamentals of JavaScript for beginners. So, what exactly is JavaScript? Well, JavaScript is known as the language of the modern web browser. It's powerful, it's flexible, and it's fast, and it's used to create interactive user interfaces. It can update content dynamically. It can control different types of multimedia, animate images, handle user input, buttons, and so many other things. It can also be used in backend development using Node.js, which is a JavaScript runtime designed specifically to work outside of the web browser. In saying so, it's capable of building very fast server-side and full-stack applications. Other uses of JavaScript include mobile app development with JavaScript frameworks such as React Native, and even desktop apps using other frameworks like Electron.js. You might have come across the term ES6 or JavaScript ECMAScript 6, which is basically a set of standards or protocols that JavaScript conforms to. Without going into the history of JavaScript, ES6 is basically the version of JavaScript that was released in 2015. Although there's been some additional changes to JavaScript since 2015, ES6 is the biggest update since the first release of JavaScript in 1997 and is referred to modern JavaScript because of the significant changes made to it. So JavaScript is one of the three layers of standard web technologies alongside HTML and CSS. HTML is responsible for the structure of a website and gives life to the elements on a page. An example of an element is a simple login button. CSS is used to style these particular HTML elements, like the login button's width, its height, text color, background color, and so on. Then JavaScript is used to create dynamic functionality. So using the login button's example, once the user clicks on the button, it's JavaScript that checks to see if your login credentials are correct, and then it relocates you to the dashboard or wherever it needs to go. Before we dive into learning JavaScript though, an important thing to understand is how the browser reads your code. So when the browser encounters a block of JavaScript code, it generally reads it in order from left to right, top to bottom. This is important as you need to be careful what order you put things in when you're writing your code. So some of the topics we'll be covering in this course are variables and the different data types, conditionals such as if, else, and switch statements, functions, arrays, loops, iterators, object literals, classes, the DOM, and even DOM manipulation, and much more. If you've only recently begun your coding journey and JavaScript is your first programming language, don't get discouraged, but learning JavaScript can be difficult and it can seem impossible to learn. It can be very frustrating at times. It's common to feel discouraged and feel doubtful, but don't lose hope. If you do feel this way, know that you're not the first nor the last person to feel this way. Even I struggled to learn JavaScript. I thought I wasn't smart enough and I thought I'd never get it. I only passed that point because I chose never to give up. So remember that learning to code is like a marathon, not a sprint. It's a long, continuous journey. It's like learning a new spoken language. It requires a lot of time, patience, and most importantly, consistent practice and learning. And this is exactly the same for JavaScript or other programming languages. If you can learn and practice consistently, even a little bit every day and not quit, I'm telling you now, you'll become a JavaScript developer. Now, before we begin, I want you to comment down below that you promise you won't quit and that you're going to become a JavaScript developer. That way you're committing yourself and you can come back to this video and share with me and the rest of the world that you've achieved your goal as a JavaScript developer. Also, if you could support me by giving this video a thumbs up and subscribing to my channel, I'd really appreciate it. Now, enough said, let's begin learning the fundamentals of JavaScript.